Now, if people today, if people today will sort of, as I said, if I can dress more on the prostitution side, if people today, will sort of, a woman especially, it goes to men somehow, but mostly women calling their other women as, prostitute, that is joining in the crusade of any religious or cultural ideas which put into our head and condemn and judge other women and in the character of, let's say, prostitution. One example I will use, there are many, then they have to think deeply and far deeper into it. It is judgmental minds and judgmental approach that is really ruining our lives, nothing else. We have that power, that sense of power which within us frustrate each other on the basis. There are something we might say we might not like, but deep down we engage ourselves or we do it unknowingly, and we sort of feel that when you doing it or you have done it in a certain style, you think it's okay. That I said, sin and wrongdoing is the abusing thing that matters. You abusing anything isn't right. If the prostitute is abusing herself, that's the problem. There are some prostitutions which are very decent in so many ways. They are very decent in their way because generally, as I say, every woman, most women who might not call themselves as prostitute, have ended up in so many men, and they still kept on. In some way, this is what nature. That kind of nature is what I would see as reflecting yourself as decent, or you are trying to be decent in spite of being with many men in your life. So let us consider that fact. If there are positions which are not very decent, that is what we might talk about. You are doing prostitution. You are not very decent in your prostitution that you are doing. The idea of prostitution, if I may use the word, because that's what we understand, somehow makes you become, a filthy or person who is not very much embracing a healthy life. There are so many dangers surrounding that. So that is what is wrong. It is not a sin which we have just literally put it out there. It was a sinner. As long as a prostitute is a sinner. If you literally put it that way, then every woman could easily be judged or being condemned as being a prostitute. At least most women, except the woman who hasn't been with anybody, but eventually that virgin will be with somebody, unless you live your life like Mother Katrina and you never sleep with any man. Then you see yourself as what? Necessarily, you see yourself not characterizing yourself among the prostitutes. I'm not saying women are prostitutes or all women are prostitutes. In fact, the word is not something I resent. I don't even consider the word to be used anyway, because it's very demeaning and very, very bad. Today others will use it as a joke, most of the rappers, and not necessarily mean it as in terms of what the word really means. So that's something that we know. We all have jokes and we say all that, but in a serious sense of approach of saying things, if you really say it in a serious way, insulting somebody or trying to criticize people, then you have to think again that it's like you pointing your finger at somebody and having the rest of your 5 fingers pointing at you, because in so many ways if you're a woman, you are in the same category. And so if you don't want to be viewed that way, then best for you not to be thinking along the same line of of considering your others or criticizing them in such a manner. Let us look carefully in the choices that we sort of make today and sort of strategize our life well, because it goes well for you, it goes well for me. I wouldn't feel good if my girlfriend or somebody I'm with is being considered or should be in that nature or being seen in that nature. Neither should I encourage the idea of any religion or culture condemning other people based on that and calling on their God to come and destroy the world because of that, or because of liars and because of what. God's will might be in place as we talk now. If God is alive and God is well and God is strong and your God have legs and mouth and got eyes and got ears, you shouldn't go about lying to people because of your spiritual experience and say God sent you to strike, or that He's coming, He's warning people that He's coming. No, God can speak directly to the whole world that He is doing that, or this is what His intentions are, and He can speak to that prostitute or that person directly. In so many instances, it shows that God spoke to Mary, God spoke to so many people. God, nothing limits him from doing that he had to go through you. Let us be honest and realistic. You just doing it for your own means, that you've gone through an experience because you have, every day focused on the Bible, and you've so much got yourself into it, possessed into it, and it has triggered your mind to think that, okay, the world is coming to an end. And there are so many things that can incite you to say things and do things the way you want to do, but it might not necessarily be the truth, of what is happening. The only truth should come from the horse's mouth himself, from God himself, saying that this is my issue. Prostitution or women or that, or let's say these people are lying too much and the world is becoming terrible and people are killing or people are doing that and that. So I would want to jump in and stop everything and put an end to it. That is entirely God's own, choice of disciplining and showing himself to be God. Letting God be God in that sense. But if you take it upon yourself and say, I want to go out and tell people that God has told me to do that, just in a prophetic, a prophetic way, or let's say acting like a prophet, a messenger, then you are really putting yourself in a very insecure state, and you are pulling others along that same line. I don't think that we should really entertain or tolerate anything like that in our minds or in our life. It might happen, it might not happen, but it is necessary not to tolerate such things. God can deal with anything. I believe he's capable of dealing with everything the way he wants it. I mean, for all we know, we probably are in God's will. Because if you think of all these things and things that are happening in other places, in so many places distance away from us, and they have been happening for thousands and thousands of years, it's not the first time. Today people are scared of having their children going out and doing all that. Even in my days in the late 70s or early 80s or whichever day, it was obviously clear that the world was so dangerous. People once a while are doing murderous and terrible things. Yes, we were still out there, we're still having fun. You just have to devise means to protect your family or protect yourself from such a lunacy that will happen through somebody. People are lunatically approaching life. They are not taking advices of which I'm giving at the moment, and books that incite them to do things which are not so very good. Just get carried away, and you find themselves doing things, and sometimes to the extent of murdering. Such terrible things are being done, which isn't something I'm sure you'll be too pleased to sort of find yourself or your family member or anybody you love to be in such a situation. So in every way, I think that we must allow God to be God anyway. We must allow nature to be as it is. I mean, life is as we see it. It's not as we are trying to necessarily imagine it necessarily to be. It's as we see it and as we make it to become. The effort of those people that we will want to end their life probably are those scientists or people who don't even believe in God, but they put their effort, the idea of depending on the source of life, that the natural giving ideas and strength that the source of life they obtain from the source of life, and they are putting it to use, building these beautiful things. You call on the God to come and destroy it, yet you use the same thing. You use the car, you use the technology ideas, the invented things, and you depend on it. So realistically, a religious man is having an approach that I don't think is necessary, nor should it be the case. But it's all about teaching and telling people, feeding people with the right information, or educating people on these grounds to know that, guys, what you might think of doing is unnecessary. If your prayer and your idea, your whole idea, sense of idea of religion is to wish that the world come to an end, or promote a book that tells you that the world will come to an end, a prophecy of somebody whose life has ended, and he said that the world will come to an end in a prophetic way, and you are there encouraging it to happen. Think deeply into it. Sorry, excuse me. Think deeply into it. I hope this is not another distraction to stop my video. Strange coughing, I think. You don't have to encourage books that will tell you all these things, and lead people into that kind of situation. life must go on.